Awesome. Welcome to In the Built Environment, Kasara. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you today.
So for our listeners' information, we met at IRM Global Summit in Dallas. I don't remember which year that was, 2021 maybe?
Yeah, it was a while back for sure.
Yeah, but you were so kind there. And I think I was looking at maybe doing an internship in DC. So we were talking about the logistics of that. And I ended up doing it with Colliers, but you kind of opened my mind to the possibility of doing an internship there. Would you be willing to share kind of how you got into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I, like so many people, sort of fell into it. In my case, I had graduated from college and was interested in working in politics, which is what brought me to Washington, D.C. initially. I ended up obtaining a position on a presidential campaign, which took me to about 4 states. And after my candidate lost, I realized that I wanted to move back to Washington, D.C. because I love the city. And I have a family background in real estate. My father and my grandmother were in real estate. So I just thought, well, I should probably look into that since I don't think I can handle the fluctuations of like political campaigns. So I got picked up by a headhunter after posting a resume, and I got a job as an administrative assistant with a local development and property management firm. At that time, I thought that I'd get into development, but what I realized through that first position was that I really enjoyed property management because I like solving problems and I like the customer service aspect of it. Also, just learning a bunch of different things. Like my major is international relations, which was an interdisciplinary major. And so I took classes in lots of different subjects, and property management is like that. Also, I just learned new things every single day. There's always some engineering component or contract component or financing component. So it's definitely an engaging industry. So once I decided that I wanted to make property management my career, then I just started looking for opportunities to move up. And so that's how I've ended up over the last 20 years working my way through the ranks. And now I'm a director of asset services at Cushman Wakefield, still here in Washington, D.C.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I love that property management gives you like the physical building, the learning about that, but then also learning with the financials. Um, and just the interacting with people part of it. I love seeing buildings get used for what they were made for. Um, and people interacting with that built environment, interacting with each other in the built environment. Um, could you tell our listeners a little bit more about what the day-to-day of property management is like? I know no 2 days are the same for sure, but kind of some of the things that could happen in a day of a property manager.
Yeah, on a more quiet day, it would be working on your annual budget. Also, like at the beginning of every month, property managers are focused on completing their monthly reports, which mostly involves writing variance explanations. So telling building owners why we're off budget, whether it's for good reasons or bad reasons, like we have more revenue, like we leased that space that's vacant, or expenses going up because of an unbudgeted project or an emergency repair. Other days, it's solving a tenant issue, like yesterday, for instance, we had a toilet backing up on 2 floors. So allocating resources and communicating with tenants and letting them know what we're doing to solve issues like that. Also, this week, I had to give a tour of the building for some folks from out of town, and that was enjoyable. I got to learn about them. They're from Boston and Chicago. That's just part of being a property manager as well. You have your building owners coming to town. Sometimes they have guests that they want you to take around as well. And then, of course, since I'm a third-party property manager, I don't work directly for the owner. I'm contracted through my employer, Cushman Wakefield. So if Cushman Wakefield has trainings or meetings, then any given day I could be going to those meetings or trainings. So Yeah, people will hear very frequently that every day is different in property management. It's absolutely true.
Awesome, thank you. Would you say you ever get bored?
No, I do not get bored.
That
I
is
do
a
not.
really positive thing about the industry.
Yeah, especially for me, like I don't do well being bored. Like I couldn't handle a job where I just sit at a desk all day and do one thing every day, day after day. It really suits my personality to do something different. And as I mentioned before, I learned something new every day, even now. And it wasn't just when I was first starting out. There's always some nuance or some change. Like just because you know how to manage one kind of building, you could work at another kind of building later in your career, and then you'd have to learn that system, learn that building system, learn that HVAC system. Also, it depends too on the owner that you work for. Some owners use Yardi for their budgeting software. Others use MRI, some Cardin. So there's always a variation of a theme that you have to adapt to at different properties. So I
Yeah, I
find
love
that
that.
things just change around you. Like you could want to be at a building for your entire career, but the odds are that's not going to happen just because, the tenants will change or the building will sell or you'll get a new building owner or a new client or a new asset manager. So it's a dynamic role.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of my favorite things is that I don't have to sit at a desk all day because I love like going out and talking with people and walking around the site. Yeah, that is, I don't know if I could do a job where I had to sit at a desk all day.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, granted,
Could, oh, go
there
ahead.
are have to like plow through work like during budget season,
Yeah, that's
but
true. That's true.
those, a couple weeks every year where it's just, your nose to the grindstone.
Yeah. Could you tell our listeners a bit about IREM?
Oh yeah, I'd love to talk about IREM. IREM is the Institute of Real Estate Management, and it is a great institute. It's focused on education as well as advocacy. I've obtained my real property manager designation through IREM, which is beneficial because, like I said, my major isn't commercial real estate or even business. It's international relations. So for someone like me who needs to learn the ropes and quickly, having those educational opportunities through IREM has been critical. It also adds some gravitas to people in the industry because we also have to abide by ethical standards as part of being a certified property manager. And IREM, of course, has other designations like the ARM designation and ACOM for residential property managers. But whether you're a residential property manager or a commercial property manager, you can still be a certified property manager, which is good. But also networking in IREM is amazing. Like you and I met, like you said earlier, through the Global Summit, and the emphasis is certainly on global. There are people from around the world there, delegations from Japan, for instance, and Brazil and South Africa. And what other opportunity would you have to meet colleagues from around the world? It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And of course, also the leadership opportunities on the local level. That's how I got my start working on various things through IREM. I was recruited to do job placement for my chapter here in Northern Virginia. And that just required me to post job listings or post resumes so that our members could have that as a resource if they had openings. And then I was able to just earn more volunteer opportunities and work my way through the ranks and become chapter president in 2019. So right now I'm the chair of the designation and certification committee, and I also sit on the governing council. So all that is to say, if you have the drive, the initiative, and you want to have an active part in the industry, IREM gives you that opportunity, which I think is incredible.
I love that. Yeah, it's a neat combination of education, networking, leadership opportunities. And in Utah, it was fun being a part of the I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the student outreach, academic outreach committee. And just seeing that grow from a couple of members to they were reaching out to lots of different universities and lots of students were finding out about property management because I didn't know about it growing up really. Like I had heard a little bit about property management, but I didn't really know what it was. So it's nice to see more people learning about it so they can choose that career if they want it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
could you provide some advice to people who may be interested in a career in property management? Kind of what you wish you had known starting out?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that networking is really important within real estate. So I was lucky that I got picked up by a headhunter so quickly. I'm not sure how I could have gotten my foot in the door otherwise, to be honest. So that's why I think organizations like IREM or BOMA are good opportunities for people to meet decision makers and just network. I know that our local chapter has young professional events too. So those are a good way to meet other people in the industry. The great part about property management is that there's always openings, and we need more people coming up through the ranks. So I think it's a target rich environment for job seekers, to be honest.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I love that too. And especially because you talked about at the beginning, being in, I don't remember exactly what it was, like government helping with the campaign, that was really kind of volatile or cyclical. And real estate can be too, but within real estate, property management is probably one of the more stable parts of it, right? And so there are often job opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also found that when you're doing a good job as a property manager, even though the market is cyclical, like you said, you'll still do well in your career, which I think is really reassuring. Like through
Yeah.
the session, I've been through that, in 2008. And I found that at that time, my career was actually taking off. So I don't know of any industry in which that's possible, but if you do your job and you're committed and you make a name for yourself, then you'll survive any downturn in the market.
That is a huge blessing because I feel like there's other careers where even if you're doing everything right, like things can just happen outside of your control that just take everything and you have to figure out what to do from there. But there's just buildings don't usually move very quickly. They're here for a while. So that's a really nice part of property management, I think.
Yep, and buildings always need to be maintained.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ask them, keep them up to snuff, and keep tenants happy and continue to meet the terms of the lease. So that doesn't stop ever. Even with COVID, we had to just keep things going.
Yeah. Almost like cars, like buildings don't break down as quickly, but they do. Like over time they are breaking down, so they do have to be maintained, even if they're built really well.
Yeah, exactly. And they can quickly fall into disrepair if you, if you don't pay
Yeah.
attention. So that's the interesting thing.
Yeah. Do you have any closing words you'd like to share with the listeners?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd say that property management is like a passion. And I think that when you think about real estate, there's so many other aspects of it that come to mind first, like the people that do the development and architecture, and the lawyers that are working behind the scenes to draw up leases and loans, and there's also the financing component of it. So just keep in mind property management is one of those many facets, and I think that IREM, for instance, does a good job of promoting property management within the industry. And I think that in the future, I would just like to see more property managers advocate for themselves and really show people that, they're graduating from college or looking for a career change, how great it is to be a property manager and the opportunities that are available, not just in terms of financial obligations and your salary and bonuses and everything, but it's a really rewarding job and it keeps you constantly engaged.
I love that. especially with the different types of property management, you're interacting with people in like their livelihoods and what they do. So if you can make their lives better, it's rewarding for you too. Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for coming on, Kasara.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.